passed a law reducing class size in New York City schools, right? Going from 33 to 25. Well, the reason they did that is because over the last 5 years, because of policies, really flawed policies about education, making the best schools a lottery, getting rid of all these programs people want, inappropriate curriculum for our kids, masking mandates on vaccine and mask mandates that were just totally, really unnecessary. All of these things drove families out of New York City schools. We went from 1.2 million down to about 800,000, a little less.
Wow.
Okay. Now, in any other business, when you lose customers, there are consequences. And the Department of Education, those consequences are, if a school doesn't have enough kids, you close the school, you reduce class size, you reduce the number of classes, which means teachers are going to get excessed. The UFT saw this and they called for help. In the police department, when you call for help and it's an emergency, it's called calling a 1013. Well, the teachers union called a 1013 to all their little puppets up in Albany, and they passed this bill that requires the reduction of students in a class from 33 to 25. A year ago, you can go on YouTube and find Vito LaBella class size bill, why it's flawed, and you'll see me, before it was passed, explaining why it was a mistake. Now, a year later, they're starting to realize, oh, this is going to have a lot of unintended consequences. Yeah, well, you pushed it through because your cronies, because your benefactors told you to, and now you're realizing that if you do this, like a school like Brooklyn Tech, my kids went to one of the top high schools, or going to one of the top high schools in New York City, Brooklyn Technical High School, largest high school in the country. We have 6,000 kids. In order to comply with this class size mandate, you're going to have to go, an incoming class has about 1,500 kids. Well, you're going to have to reduce that to 1,000 kids. And if you don't increase funding per kid, right, because every kid comes with a little dollar sign, on their head, you're going to have to reduce the number of teachers, the number of programs. We have a lot of AP programs, really popular. We have a lot of majors in our school that you're going to have to cut those because you're not going to have the money. You're going to get rid of 25% of the kids. You're also going to get rid of 25% of the money, right? So unless they make the per-pupil funding more to make up for that, which, New York City has, because of all of their largesse and their really wasteful spending, we already have about a $12 billion budget cap. $12 billion. That's what the migrant situation factored in because of all of the hotels we're paying for the migrants. So where's this extra money going to come from? It doesn't exist. It's monopoly money to them, but it's real money to the taxpayers. And that's just one example. The class size. Now, I also worked for the Assembly member Lester Chang. I worked for him for a few months. My friend Yatin Chu, another Place New York City founder, we drafted legislation exempting specialized schools, screen schools, accelerated programs, gifted and talented programs, exempted them from this class size bill. That should be expanded to exempt any kid who is reading at grade level, any school or class where the kids are reading at grade level. And then here's the thing, and this is where the progressive left, where they're not honest actors. Going from 33 to 25, there's no demonstrated benefit to that in the literature. But if we focus on our most vulnerable children, our children who are not reading and doing math at grade level, which, by the way, is 60% of our black and brown kids, not reading up to grade level. Multi-language learners, kids in temporary shelter, kids in poverty, kids who are migrants. If we focus on those children and don't bring their class size down to 25, bring their class size down to 12 or 15, because that's the number. If you look at the empirical research, that's the number that can have an impact on these kids' performance. So you do that for the kids that need it. And the kids that are doing super well, like the kids in the specialized schools or accelerated programs, leave them alone. They're fine. The kids that are reading at grade level, give them a little bit extra support to get them to do even better. But they're fine. Spend your money where we need it the most. but the union doesn't want it because they don't like anything that differentiates any of this stuff. Okay, this is all driven by the union, and I love the union. Listen, I was in the union. I understand the union has a choice. The union has a mission. If you're in the police union, your mission is to look after the police officer. Even the police officer is not the best cop, and I get that as a lieutenant. I understand that's their mission. If you're in the teachers union, your mission is to look after the teachers, not to look after the children. That's the way it is. But guess what? The legislators, the government, we should be in friendly opposition to that. And that's how the system works. That's how the system works. And we should push back and ask our union members to give a little, not taking anything out of their pocket. My proposal wouldn't harm a single teacher. Everyone would keep their jobs, and we would have more teachers for these vulnerable kids, but the extra cost, wouldn't be so onerous as to bankrupt the city. Mm-hmm. See that? Is that in the weeds enough for you? Someone had to fall asleep. I thought you were nodding off there.
No, not at all. That was amazing, actually. And this is really for the voters who, of course, they'll be seeing that as a short, multiple shorts, so they can actually tune in and find out more. Now,